buzzing along, and all of a sudden the front wheel dropped in, and it just flipped me end for end. But you have on the gear, and of course, when I was younger, it seemed to work a little better. When you gas it, the chain would go slack just because things would flex, and I ended up selling it to go. I said, "How much do you want for it?" And it's like, this is a deal I couldn't refuse. I ended up shipping it home.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Bike and Rider. I'm here with my buddy Ken Bratt in his garage, and man, this place is really cool. All sorts of stuff. I'm gonna have to show y'all, maybe do just a special episode on the cool stuff he has in his garage. But thanks for joining us. We're gonna go sit down and get into this interview.
My name is Ken Bratt. I'm from Syracuse, New York, and I started riding about 1971 motorcycles.
Let's go to your beginning. What got you into bikes, motorcycles?
Well, I had a couple mini bikes that my dad brought home from work one day that didn't work so well, but we got them fired up, running, and run them through the fields quite a bit, and I was hooked. I really liked anything with a motor on it. It was just exciting to me. It didn't matter what it was. But
anything that you could work on mechanic-wise.
Well, it seemed very simple, and you could reach everything.
Yeah.
It just seemed logical to me.
How old were you?
I was probably about middle school when I started, maybe 6th, 7th grade. I was actually helping my friends fix their bicycles, and just had natural aptitude for making things work. And it even evolved into go-karts, but the bikes were so much more fun because the suspension was not an issue. You didn't get beat to death.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that helps so much.
Yeah, and they were faster and just ease of turning on two wheels. It just seemed so effortless versus like a Jeep or anything else. It just seemed more natural to me. And then the rough roads, you're half standing up, so bumps aren't a problem. Where if you're sitting in a cart, it's rough.
So working on go-karts, had a friend, rigid frame, majority of go-karts are rigid frame. I picked the go-kart I mentioned earlier, picked up, it has suspension. And so that makes a world of difference when you're riding through the dirt, when you're riding through a yard or something like that.
It sure does.
Yeah. What do you remember the first bike you worked on that you got to ride?
It would have been mini bikes, and then the Honda that I bought. I was the first of my friends that ended up with a motorcycle.
Okay.
So I didn't have that chance yet, but it wasn't long after that I was helping them. Usually your chains are breaking, or you don't know enough back then to oil a chain or keep up with it. That's the easy stuff.
Technology's helped us in those regions too.
Yes. Yeah.
So you ended up buying, was that your first bike?
Yeah, I think it was $350 that I saved for probably a couple years.
Wow.
I actually loaned my older brother some money, and I made a little interest from that. But I shoveled driveways, I cut grass, just odd jobs. I did some logging for my uncle that got to pocket $100 one summer, for helping, cutting trees. So it I saved my money.
Wow.
And I remember going to buy the motorcycle. My mom really didn't want me to have one.
Not unusual.
But my dad said, he earned the money. He's been working hard for it. So he backed me up. And
that's so good.
And I didn't look back,
What was that one?
It's a 69 Honda SL90. They only made them for a couple of years. It was a blue one.
Okay.
And it had the upswept exhaust. I remember showing up at the guy's house to look at it. My dad took me there. I wasn't driving yet. And it was sitting in the front yard, and I saw that. I said, "Oh, that's way too nice. That can't be the one."
Yeah.
And sure enough, that was it. And I'd never even driven a bike with a clutch And he said, take it for a spin. So I went around the yard on it. I figured it out on the spot.
On the fly?
It was just a 4-speed.
Wow.
But, it wasn't it was a good sized bike. I think a 19-inch front wheel, but it wasn't small like a lot of the small Hondas.
Yeah.
But it was just easy to ride. It was street legal. It had a headlight and speedometer on it and all that. But it was upswept exhaust, for ground clearance, and it was a good on-off, fantastic bike.
In my head, I just imagine if you worked on some people's stuff, you're probably getting to play with it a little bit too.
Oh, yeah, you have to test it out.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And somewhere along the way, you probably figured out how to get all those controls put to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, how long did you have that bike?
Well, I had that bike for a couple years, and it threw the cam chain, and it wouldn't run. And I couldn't ever get it to run right after that. I was still pretty young.
Yeah.
And I tore the motor all apart, and I just put it back together. It just wouldn't go. And then I ended up with I bought another bike, 1972 Suzuki TS 185. Just a 2-stroke on off-road.
Okay.
But so the Honda just sat there for a little bit, and at work, one of the guys that I met had an older Honda 160 street bike that was wrecked, and I ended up getting the motor from him, and I actually put that 160 2-cylinder motor into the SL90 frame.
2-cylinder?
Mm-hmm.
Parallel or?
Yeah, it was just
okay.
Just a 2-cylinder. I've got a picture of it, but I had to make my own exhaust. I just made it out of conduit pipe. I had to cut the frame. I just took some flat 1/4-inch metal and bent it around to take the place of the double cradle, turned it to a single in the center, and it all turned out pretty good, except the gearing was way off. And the frame wasn't quite stout enough. When you gas it, the chain would go slack just because things would flex. And I ended up selling it pretty soon after, and it didn't top out. I probably could have messed with the gearing some more, but I had a better bike already.
Yes,
it was.
Gotcha.
It was neat.
Yeah,
it was just a good learning experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like the roots of where you are today were with you long into your childhood.
Well, that and in go-karts, I built a lot of different go-karts. I had one that built out of a swing set slide. The motor was on the back, and you could lay down on the front, and it had a generator to power the headlight.
Was that a metal slide?
Yes.
Okay.
The old time that, when you're kids. Yeah. And late one night, we went around the long block with it. My brother was on a mini bike with his friend, and I was on the go-kart, and with his headlight, it was as bright as a motorcycle. Well, we went down the boulevard, and a cop saw the mini bike in front of us because it was dark. He saw there was something there. So he pulls over the mini bike and didn't even notice that I was a go-kart, and I went on by, went back home. So
got on by.
That was only a 1.5 horse Briggs & Stratton engine with a little jack shaft on it, and it moved right along at about 40 miles an hour.
40? That's a lot of miles.
It seems like I was young back then.
Yeah.
But like I say, I kept on going. This is a 2-lane boulevard, and and it was a big tired mini bike, and it was as fast as that was. Wow. I was a little lighter back then too.
Yeah, that makes a world of difference.
Yeah, but then I had other motors I come across and did bigger go-karts, but motorcycles were always better just because you didn't have to deal with the suspension.
Okay. As you started to get older, did you stick with bikes through your 20s?
Yeah, I had, let's see, I got into some other dirt bikes. I had a Can-Am, 1979 Can-Am that I like to ride off-road. You could actually ride that on the snowmobile trails because it was so light, and it had a big 5-inch tire back then. It was pretty new, and that went really well. And snowmobile trails, they get whoops in them, if they're not maintained. And snowmobiles back then had bogey wheels, which is suspension that really doesn't work like the sliders do today. So the suspension really didn't exist. So the motorcycle could do so much better than a snowmobile on packed trails. You could just fly right over the tops, just like the whoop-de-doos at a motocross track. Same effect. Snowmobiles can't fly over that stuff, or they couldn't then.
Yeah.
So it worked out really well.
What'd you do with it?
I just, things just kind of go by the wayside. Trying to remember what happened to some of these things. I moved out of Syracuse when I was 22 years old, so a lot of that stuff got left behind. I started to transfer around for my job.
Okay.
And a lot of the stuff I sold, because I generally get tired of something, I'd sell it. If somebody wanted it, it just seemed like a natural fit. And I had some other bikes along the way that didn't run. I'd fix up, patch up, and sell them to somebody.
So what did you end up working into after that?
Well, my first street bike, I still lived in town, was a 1979 GS 750 Suzuki. That was a fun bike. I didn't go on any trips, just around town, and thinking back, that thing wheelied really nice, which I wouldn't do that today. I guess I was lucky. But I moved to North Carolina, and it was great. I had it then because I was near the Blue Ridge Parkway, so I'd ride on the Blue Ridge Parkway all the time.
Do you remember the time frame?
That would have been in the early 80s.
Okay. And the Blue Ridge was?
I lived in the Winston-Salem area, and I could travel north about an hour and hit the Blue Ridge and then head west towards Asheville, so you could be there in a couple hours, I think it was.
Was that a destination spot?
Yeah, you just go up for the day, come back, and of course traffic wasn't near as bad back in the 80s, and then there was a lot of state parks near where I lived that were scenic. I do some hiking once I get there.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. Did you do any notable trips with that bike, or?
No, I really, because I was away from other people and working all the time. I just would love just coming home from work, go for a quick spin, 20, 30 minutes, and that was all I really needed.
In my early 20s, I spent almost every night doing that. I'd work, and then in the evening, I'd just take the bike and go around town, just go ride. Usually a couple buddies, and a lot of really good times there. But it was many years later before I started actually looking at taking trips. It's like that world didn't even exist yet to me.
Well, I always wanted to. I just didn't have the opportunity or the right friends at the right times. And then one of the bikes I got once I was in Tennessee was a 1998 Harley Road King. And that would have been about year 2000. So I one of my off-road riding buddies suggested, let's go to Sturgis.
Oh yeah.
And so we loaded up, and actually about a dozen. And that's when I realized, you need to be paying attention to the people you're riding with. You got to match your speeds, And we had a pretty eclectic group. One guy had a 1970 Norton that wouldn't go over 65 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And he had to stop about every 80 miles for gas. Oh. And we drove the bikes to Sturgis. Most of them were Harleys and big touring bikes. But and then there was I think a Vulcan, a smaller 650 Vulcan. That he didn't go that fast either. But we were kind of waiting all the time, but that was a heck of an adventure. It was half interstate, half highway. I had a friend tell me some of the best routes. Yeah. And while we were up in Sturgis, we were there actually the week before all the activity. Oh. So we got to ride through all the famous places,
loaded with people,
beautiful riding and all that.
Yeah.
And then we were thinking, we're all working people. We're only a day's ride from Yellowstone. we might not get another chance. So we kind of split the group in half, and half of us went over to Yellowstone, and we got a hotel at Beartooth Pass, that night.
Okay.
And then the next morning we got in before they opened the gates up, because it's free. They don't close gates. They don't have a guard. So we went on through, and it was in July, and it was below freezing. It was in the 20s, and we knew it was going to be cold. So we had some cold gear.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, but there was actually snow. Where they had a storm the week before.
Okay.
Where the roads weren't covered with snow, but there were snow banks and stuff, and that was quite an adventure.
Wow.
Come through there. But we did about 6,000 miles in a week and a half. We came back through Wyoming, but we all kind of fragmented and broke into smaller groups.
Yeah.
Paired up our riding.
And that helps.
Styles a little bit. Some people like to putt along and stop all the time, and some people just want to, make decent time.
We're all so different, and just because we ride bikes doesn't mean we're all the same people.
Yeah.
And I find that across the board with every different variety of motorcycles, that you've got different groups, different skill levels, different speeds, that they want to go, that they can process. Some people need more brakes than others. The gas thing. Oh, the gas thing.
Yeah.
Always somebody forgetting gas. Yeah. Yellowstone, that's wild.
Oh, that was fantastic.
That's so cool. I hadn't made it to that part of the U.S. yet, but...
And since then, I've been to Sturgis several times.
Really?
And during the bike week, and that's, a lot of people, if you haven't been there, I highly advise it. It's not what you would think. I mean, the stuff you've seen on TV, the crazy stuff, it does go on, but there's so much, you don't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
There's certain campgrounds that do that, but the town, everything else, everything's going on. All the vendors are set up, all the manufacturers are there. You got stunts, races, it just goes on and on. A good place to buy gear.
I'm glad you cleared that up for me, because in my head, I'm like...
Yeah, well, they got the burnout pits where people do stupid things, but that's just such a small part of it.
Right, I'm not a late night getting crazy
no,
kind of
but
guy.
we would always get in a campground about 5 miles outside of town.
Okay.
And usually the campground will have something going on that week, but they have nice outhouses they put up, buildings just for this week of the year. It's such a big deal.
Yeah.
People come from all over the country, policemen and vendors and everybody set up to handle this. They've been doing it so long.
Yeah.
They've really got it down, and it's and then the riding out there, it's all bikes. You don't see hardly any cars.
Oh, really?
And all the little towns, neighboring towns, are blocked off to where it's just bikes only.
Yeah.
And it's just the coolest thing,
That is cool.
And the weather typically is very nice. It's very dry, no humidity, like in the south, and nice sweeping turns, very scenic. It's just, I highly advise it. You got to get there.
Okay.
So
I look around, I see a lot of bikes in here. So is there a bike that you maybe had and were kind of sad that you got rid of?
Well, yeah, but you need a different bike for a different occasion.
Sure.
They all have their purposes, and
that's what all my interviews keep telling me.
Yeah. It's
bikes have a purpose.
Yeah, so, and you get tired of them. They're just bikes, it's just like boats or cars or anything else. It just, the Suzuki over here, I bought that brand new in 1978. And that was the first year they had the 4-stroke enduro type bike.
Wow.
And, I've raced it. I've done all kinds of things. It was stripped down and I've rebuilt it. But it's not worth a lot of money, so I might as well just keep it. But that's great for going to get something at Home Depot, put on a backpack and, go get a can of paint or whatever I needed. But since then, I had a bike I came across, a Triumph Sprint, a 2004 model last year that was wrecked. It was totaled out. But it went off the road nice and easy and just took off the plastic on one side, but you can't buy that stuff. So that's why the insurance company totaled it. Well, I knew the guy that it came from. I knew it was a good bike. So I resurrected that, and I only had about $1,200 into it. I found some aftermarket fiberglass panels, and I repainted the sides, and that was a fantastic bike, a lot of fun, but it had nearly 50,000 miles on it. It ran like a top, but I'm thinking, I don't want to have to get into the motor. It'd probably be a good time to sell it. So I actually traded it even for the BMW back in the corner, the F650 GS.
Okay.
And
That's a single, right?
yeah, it's a single with a Rotex engine, and I didn't know much about them. I've always liked BMWs. They've always been good, solid bikes. Can't go wrong on them. They all seemed a little bit pricey, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
And so I did an even trade, and that's a much better bike for going to Home Depot on.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a Givi box that'll go on the back. So actually I did a service call helping a friend out with a tractor. I put my tool bag in the back of it. Tools aren't light.
In there.
And so that's fun. It'll go down the interstate. It'll go 80 miles an hour just fine, but you wouldn't want to go on a trip with it, unless it was off road.
Yeah.
I'd love to take it over to Leaper's Fork and do the Dirt Devil one day. Just haven't done that. It'd be perfect for that. You could drive it there. So that's just a different reason to have it.
Okay, I gotcha.
But the Sprint, I really loved it, and I was never a Triumph fan. I didn't know much about them, and that was a very impressive bike. It was a 3-cylinder. It was 128 horsepower, about 500 pounds, and it handled fantastic. It was very rider friendly. It just very exciting. Some of us will ride from this area down towards southwest Tennessee, where it's more rural and woods, curvy roads and all that. So we'll take those back roads through there, and it's a fun bike for that.
13? You ever go down 13?
Yes, 13 and 46 and 99.
I like to go riding out there.
All the way down through like Hohenwald and Waynesboro.
Yeah.
We've got a real popular route we do there, and
Cool.
there's a good place to stop for lunch while we're at it.
Yeah.
So I really hated to get rid of the Sprint for that. The K16 does it just fine, but on all those curvy roads, it eats up tires. I couldn't get more about 2,000 miles out of the front and rear tires. It just 3,000 miles. It just it's hard on them. Just the turns.
Heavy
bike. It's a very heavy bike, but you don't notice it when you're on it. But your tires just don't last. It's just the nature of them. Everything else about it's fantastic.
It's so funny. When early in my days riding, I found this mechanic in a small shop kind of outside of town, and I was talking to him. I said, bikes are so much cheaper than cars, and he said, whoa. He said, you look at how often you got to change bike tires compared to a car. You get 50,000 on a vehicle, and then you get like 3 to 5 on these bikes you're riding. He's like, the cost really is about the same, and the capabilities are far less. He's like, you just got to be real about it. Like, it's not cheap to own motor, and then you end up owning a second and a third, and then all the maintenance. Yeah. Funny things.
Well, the nice thing about the bikes, they don't take up near as much space in the garage.
That's for sure.
I can still get both my cars in here with all the bikes, and
wow, that's great.
It don't have quite as much room.
Yeah.
But no, you just got to have different bikes for different occasions.
Is there a destination travel spot you'd like to go to?
Well, I'm going to Little Switzerland this fall, which is near Asheville. That's where they had all the flooding last year.
I went through there. I stopped there.
It's along the Blue Ridge Parkway.
It was when I was riding the Blue Ridge.
Yep.
I wasn't leading, so I didn't know exactly where we were at, but you're going there.
There's a group of guys I met last year that I was out there last year, actually a week before all the storms hit.
Okay.
And but we had a great time, found a nice little hotel that individual rooms made for bikers.
Oh, cool.
And these guys knew all the right roads, not necessarily the parkway, but there's all kinds of other roads all around it, that aren't quite as busy. Fun bunch of guys, but we're going back there again this fall. And other than that, I'd just love to spend more time out west. I was out in earlier this year in Arizona near Flagstaff.
Okay.
Prescott, actually. We stayed with a friend out there, and a friend of mine was looking at buying a bike that he had. So why don't you just come out and we'll ride bikes for the week. If you want to buy it, great. If you don't, we had fun. So three of us go on out there and we hang out for the week. And this guy had 4 motorcycles, and we rode different bikes different days. And the last day, I rode this Aprilia. It's a 2004 Futura, and I didn't know much about those. And it's like, this is an awesome bike. It reminded me of that Sprint, another one of these 125 horsepower, 2-cylinder Rotex engine. And it's just a great track bike, but very comfortable, very user-friendly and all that. And the last day, he says, yeah, I need to probably sell another one. And I think that one's next to go. I said, how much do you want for it? And it's like, this was a deal I couldn't refuse. I ended up shipping it home.
That's great.
So, I had no intentions of buying another bike, but it reminded me of that Sprint. It kind of reminds me of some of your Ducatis and stuff. Just super powerful, yet very user-friendly.
Yeah, the low 100, just over 100, 150, somewhere in that range. Seems like plenty of power for anybody to have a really good time with. And, that I'm curious how much it weighs, honestly.
That's about 500 pounds.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe just a little less. Yeah.
So you want to do more riding out west?
I would. Yeah, the trouble is getting there. It takes a day travel time. And that's not a big deal. But I'm married and she doesn't ride, so I need to spend some time at home too.
Yeah, right.
So that's the challenge.
Any particular locations out that direction?
I would love to spend more time checking out the western parks. The Northwest, even Alaska.
Yeah.
I don't know how that will happen, but things happen. Just wait and see.
Me and my wife have talked about that for years, and we were recently kind of planning something out in that direction and driving. She's got a 4Runner, and we're looking at like 2 days to get out there, without burning the midnight oil and ruining ourselves for the next day, So you're looking at 4 days just to travel. So you need to do it like a week and a half if you're going to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
It's a lot of time.
And the riding bikes between here and there is not good. You're better off to trailer.
Yeah.
You can make twice the time and less wear and tear on the bike, and save yourself for the good stuff.
Yeah.
I've driven to Sturgis one time on the bikes, which I'm glad I did, but I won't do it again. But 3 guys in a truck in a trailer, you can drive nonstop and be there in 24 hours, and everybody's in good shape.
Right.
And usually catch a ball game on the way there. Break it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So
that's great. Yeah, I hear a lot of good things about what's over there, and it's definitely, it feels like it's kind of out of reach for me right now, but it's going to happen before the end of this life.
I almost think the most practical way is to just fly out there and rent a bike.
Yeah.
I've got some friends that'll do there's programs for that.
Yeah.
They work out really well. You got to do a little research on them because some bikes are in better shape than others.
Yeah.
Some guys take a lot of pride and have some good products, and then there's others that, there it is, they don't even clean it.
Yeah.
So
I used to have a KTM Duke 690, and I put it on a rental website. Rideshare, yeah. And somebody rented it only once. It wasn't too popular, but I think doing that is fantastic. I'll probably start doing that as I've already got a couple of bikes.
Yeah.
I take care of my stuff, I think it's really good, especially for the insurance aspect of covering. So they were shooting a video. That's why they rented my bike. And if I wanted to lend my bike out, it's better to have it covered through the rideshare
Yes,
insurance
yeah,
because they take care of that aspect of it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
My wife was in the insurance business years ago, and she's concerned about liabilities. So the thought of me renting out one of the bikes, it wouldn't bother me, but she said, no, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I did that with an airplane years ago.
Really?
That I did a lease back for flight school.
Okay.
When I was learning to fly. And I did that for a year. And of course, the insurance got higher and higher. And but she was wearing me out over that, and she was so glad when I took it offline.
Talking about insurance, have you been in any notable motorcycle accidents?
Just nothing technically on the road.
Yeah.
I can remember in the wintertime one year I was looking through a field, and it was all snow, and it had melted. And then it froze, and it was real crusty on top. And I had the Can-Am buzzing along, and all of a sudden the front wheel dropped in, and it just flipped me end for end.
Oh, it kind of broke through that solid part and into the soft stuff.
And that front wheel stopped instantly and just launched me over the handlebars. And I could see, I hit the ground, and I could see the bike come through the air. I just turned my head down, and I had a helmet on, and it packed my head into the snow and ice.
Okay.
And I had to go to the doctors, and he said it looked like I was in a fight. My face was black and blue, and it didn't break anything, but that kind of got my attention. And but that's been about it. I've had a lot of dirt bikes. You don't count them when you bounce off a tree and stuff like that. But that one there was a little bit different. It got some people's attention,
Well, that's fantastic and very fortunate for you. I'm a little bit more daring and kind of push the limits. And it's funny though about the dirt, because the people I talk to that ride dirt, they're like, if you haven't gone down on the dirt in some form or fashion, you're really not. You probably shouldn't be in the dirt because you're not having fun.
Every day you're out there, you're gonna go down for some reason. Yeah,
it's always something.
But you have on the gear, and of course, when I was younger, it seemed to work a little better.
It's funny.
But the shoulder pads, the elbow pads, those little plastic pieces sure help a lot.
When I was younger, the gear worked a lot better. I'm going to save that one. That's fantastic. Oh, man. It's funny, though. I went down into a ditch, nothing too crazy, but it was wild how sore my upper back and my neck was from it. Almost like whiplash.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the second day, the first day after. It was like the second, third day really after, where it set in. I'm like, oh, this must be that age thing coming along. Yeah. So I met you at a bike show, and you were there showing a very unique bike. And how did you come into that bike? You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Well, I was at work one day, and an equipment business, and we were repairing a pavement roller for a customer that had ethered the engine, which means they run them out of fuel and they use ether to get it running, and it'll break the rings. And so we pulled this engine out, and you don't rebuild engines anymore, you just replace them because the warranty and the cost and all that.
See.
So I had in front of me this little 3-cylinder 750cc Kubota diesel engine that's super universal, used in tons and tons of equipment. And I see this motor sitting there, and we were just going to throw it away, and there wasn't much wrong with it, so I could fix it myself. Wouldn't take much at all. We wouldn't have fixed it for the customer because it wouldn't be warranted.
Right.
So I had a flashback from my youth. It's like, I got to do something with this motor. And at the time, I had a Harley 62 Dual Glide Panhead sitting in the garage. And so I start measuring things up, the size of the frame, and trying to see if I could fit this into a Harley frame. And sure enough, it looked like a perfect fit. So I've got the motor, got it running, that's no problem. So I found on eBay this rigid frame that it was like a rolling frame, had the wheels and the tank, had a transmission. It was a Ultima brand, which is a Harley aftermarket type thing.
Okay.
So here's with a Springer front end. So here's a whole bike frame that this motor would fit in there perfectly, you know. And so I went ahead and bought it and got it in here, and I just started piecing it together, made up my own motor mounts. I had to come up with the ratio. It had an open belt drive on it, so I just had to mount the pulley on the flywheel. I had to make my own wiring harness, my own exhaust, my own intake. Let's see, just linkages, mount a radiator in there. The Kubota engine had its own oil supply and starter, where the other one, I didn't need the starter or the oil tank, so I could repurpose the oil tank for a battery thing, because for a diesel engine, you got to have a pretty big battery. It takes a lot to crank a diesel engine.
Right.
You know, a lot of people don't realize the compression is about 450 pounds versus, you know, say 100 or 150 for a motorcycle, you know, gas engine.
Gas engines, yeah.
So there's some different things to that. But anyways, it all worked out, and it worked out so well. It was experimental. You know, that it's not a high horsepower engine, which I knew that up front. Diesels, you know, but it was a 3,600 RPM engine, which most diesels don't turn that fast. But this was rated for that, so that gave me a lot more options. But it worked out well enough where I needed a little bit more power, so I found a turbo at work that came off an Isuzu generator.
Okay.
So I just adapted that, made my own manifolds and bolted that on there. Because it's a little bit bigger than the engine called for, it doesn't have a lot of boost. It's only about 5 pounds, which that's very noticeable, and you don't have to worry about blowing up the engine.
Right.
So I had to put my own little turbo on there, and of course you have to have a scavenger pump because the turbo should be mounted up high, and you got oil drainage issues that will leak if you don't deal with that. But the alternator came with the engine. It's actually a dynamo, they call it. So it took care of that. But it just kind of evolved after a couple of years.
Work.
Yeah, little brackets and pieces.
Took a couple years to...
Yeah, kind of. It kind of evolved. About 6 months I got it running and decided the exhaust would be better over this way and that way. Yep. And then the first radiator wasn't quite big enough.
Okay.
It would get hot sitting still, you know, at traffic lights or going up a long hill, but then cool right back down. So I didn't know how much radiator to have. So then I found a Yamaha Banshee one on eBay, pretty cheap, it was like $50. You know, so it's twice the size. So and I put a fan on it, and that took care of the cooling. You know,
nice.
So it's cool as can be all the time now.
So given your level of ingenuity and your technical skill, know-how, is there anything you want to build in the future? You got future plans or dreams, ideas? Something?
I'm open to suggestion. I see all kinds of things, you know, online or YouTube, but nothing's really jumped out at me. I don't want to copy somebody else. But a lot of it will probably boil down to opportunity, whatever I come across.
What comes your way? Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I might bring something your way. I'm not sure what yet. But I might come up with something.
No, I like experimenting and no, that's it just cool. I don't do crossword puzzles. I don't sit around well, but I like tinkering, making things.
I know how it goes. I'm right there with you. My wife, she called me the modifier. She said, you can't get anything and just leave it be. You got to always change something to make it better or make it work differently or something.
Well, you learn a lot doing that, and a lot of times you learn that you should have left it alone.
That's
not always.
A hard lesson to acknowledge that you're definitely on it.
Well, like you look at Harley has made a business out of that. You buy a Harley and it's aftermarket is half their business.
Yeah.
Where you buy a Honda or anybody else's, it's got everything you need. You can't make anything any better, but that's the way they were designed. So I can remember back years ago, I had old jet ski, the stand-up jet skis, and they were all pretty new and underpowered. Well, I ended up putting dual carbs on one. It made a world of difference, and you got to have a tuner to go with it. I found a good tuner.
Yeah.
Well, they keep breaking and cracking, and the more you do, the
worse it
your
gets.
Reliability is out the window. But
that's
it
right.
can work out good enough to justify it.
Yeah.
And then sometimes there's a happy medium.
Yeah.
I always thought like stage 1 update kits for Harley was pretty idiot proof. They would they would be noticeably
be
much
solid.
better, but it was reliable as the original stuff.
Yeah. Earlier you mentioned that you like to do some skiing. What do you do off the now I bring that up because I feel like that's definitely at least part of your answer, but is there anything particular that you do off the bike you feel like contributes to your riding skills?
Well, I like hunting, so you're out hiking in the woods a lot. It kind of keeps you in shape. I think it all just fits together just to stay active, whatever it is, and if you're not planning anything that day, you can do a little exercise, 20 minutes goes a long way. Just stretching. It's really, once you get older, stretching is as important as anything.
Okay, so are you stretching, exercising every now and again?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to. Just to kind of keep loose on the bike.
Yeah.
Like on the, like the KTM is like any other exercise bike. It doesn't get used enough. So if you're not riding it, every couple of weeks, it'll kick your ass. It'll wear you out. And this last year, I've got a neighbor not far away that I'll get to ride it, a couple times a week, and I was pretty good until it got so hot, but we cut some trails through the woods, and I really enjoy doing that.
Yeah, that heat will magnify the work, the energy pulled from the body that it requires. So yeah, it's
but being in the woods is a lot cooler than out in fields and stuff.
Noticeably, I leave town, I get just 5 minutes outside of town. It drops like 5 degrees.
Yeah.
And it's noticeable, very noticeable. It's nice. As long as you're moving, you're all right.
Yep.
It's when you stop and you just sit there and then the heat of the bike is coming up on you. And it's like, helmet gets all foggy and stuff.
Yeah. That's no fun.
So you said earlier you ski also? So you just live a pretty active lifestyle then?
Yes, yeah. I'm out to the lake quite a bit. And
okay.
I couldn't live in the South if I was not at the lake as much, because the heat kind of gets to me.
Yeah.
So, and I've got some friends out at I call it at the floating trailer park at the marina. Yeah, I got friends. I'm helping them repair things here and there, so they're always inviting me out skiing.
Yeah.
So I don't even have to have ski boats, so they just say, hey, come on, we're going to do this.
That's cool.
So we'll do some surfing or just whatever.
Yeah. The being active makes a world of difference. Keeping the mind sharp. Of course, the body is very important, but I feel that people overlook what goes on in between your ears far too often because you can't visually see that. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing everything with us. I'd like to move into talking about these scooters sitting behind us.
Absolutely. I love talking about those things.
All right. Well, let's thank you everyone for dropping by and listening in to Ken's story. There's a whole lot more of his story, all about his custom turbo diesel Kubota motorcycle build right here, top left box. Check that out. The link's also in the description if you need it. Live free, ride hard, and I'll see y'all on the next one.